Hi, welcome to Gloomy Recaps. The story begins with a nurse named Gwen walking towards a treatment room. Inside, an elderly female patient who is experiencing shortness of breath begs Gwen to take her home. However, Gwen does something unexpected. She reduces the oxygen flow from the tube and presses the hose, making it difficult for the elderly woman to breathe until she finally loses consciousness. After that, Gwen leaves the room pretending to be panicked and shouting for help, as if she doesn't know what really happened. The doctor and other nurses immediately come to help the elderly woman in various ways. Meanwhile, Gwen just stood in the doorway watching them with a sly smile. Luckily, the old woman was eventually saved. The scene shifted to a mansion inhabited by a small family. Inside lived a married couple, Myra and Todd, along with their son, Max, who lived a life full of happiness, tranquility, and harmony. That morning, Myra was busy preparing breakfast for Todd, who was about to leave for work. Shortly thereafter, Max appeared, walking with the aid of crutches due to muscular dystrophy, a genetic disease that causes gradual muscle weakness and deterioration. That day, a beautiful woman named Gwen arrived at their house. She was a nanny and nurse for Max, who turned out to be the first nurse seen in the previous story. They gathered together at the dining table for breakfast, but Gwen often looked at Todd intensely. When she saw Myra helping Todd tidy up his suit, Gwen showed her displeasure at the couple's intimacy. As soon as Todd left the house for work, Myra's best friend Karen came to visit. Together with Karen, Myra discussed various things about Max's treatment. Then Myra began to pour out her heart about Gwen's presence, who had only been working at the house for 2 weeks. Myra felt uncomfortable because Max seemed happier every time he was with Gwen than with her as his mother. Karen suggested that Myra find another nurse, but Myra refused because she felt that Gwen had provided good care and brought happiness to Max despite the difficult circumstances. In the middle of the conversation, Max's cries of pain were heard, and they immediately ran to him. It turned out that Max had fallen because his crutch had broken. In her panic, Myra blamed Gwen for the incident, accusing her of not taking good care of Max. However, Max defended Gwen, saying that it was purely an accident and not Gwen's fault. Myra then contacted Dr. Keller to check on Max's condition and order a new crutch. That night, Myra felt guilty for her anger towards Gwen. She apologized to Gwen for blaming her for the broken crutch. Gwen gently replied that Myra's reaction was natural for a worried mother. To calm Myra down, Gwen made her a cup of hot tea.
Thank you. Of course.
The next day, Myra attended a community gathering where she poured out her heart about Max's condition. She recalled the moment Max was diagnosed with muscular dystrophy a few months ago after falling while climbing the stairs of a slide at the playground. The incident made Myra feel like a failure as a mother because she was unable to protect her child. After returning home, Myra was surprised by Gwen's sudden appearance, who handed her a cup of tea and told her to drink it. A short time later, while Myra was sleeping exhausted on the sofa, Dr. Keller arrived at the house carrying the new crutches Myra had ordered. However, Gwen prevented Dr. Keller from meeting Max, who was sleeping in his room. In the end, Dr. Keller left the crutches with Gwen before leaving. However, before completely leaving the house, Dr. Keller returned because he felt familiar with Gwen's face, as if he had seen her before. Even so, Gwen insisted that they had never met before. That night, Gwen visited Dr. Keller's house, which turned out to be in the same alley as Myra's house. Gwen deliberately met Dr. Keller to reveal that they had worked at the same hospital. When invited in, Gwen suddenly injected something into Dr. Keller's hand, while revealing that she was the nurse who had tried to kill an elderly female patient at the beginning of the story. The patient had been saved by Dr. Keller. After that, Gwen left Dr. Keller, who was now dying, likely meeting his end slowly. On the other hand, Myra received a call from an unknown person named David, who claimed to be from the community Myra belonged to. During their conversation, David showed concern and moral support for Myra in caring for Max. He also shared that his son, Carter, suffered from muscular dystrophy and his wife had passed away, so now he was only assisted by a nurse to take care of Carter. However, when Myra wanted to see what David looked like, he sent a photo with very low resolution. In fact, David was not a real person, but Gwen disguising herself by changing her voice to sound like a man. The next morning during breakfast, Karen visited and accidentally spilled a drink on Todd's shirt. Myra quickly changed Todd's wet shirt, while Gwen seemed unable to take her eyes off Todd's body. Seeing that Myra was not feeling well, Karen offered to help her get her bag from the office. However, when passing through the laundry room, Karen caught Gwen kissing Todd's wet shirt. That night, Gwen called Myra again, pretending to be David, to ask about Myra and Max. When Myra complained that she wasn't feeling well, Gwen suddenly ended the call and immediately went to see Myra in person. As the real Gwen, she acted as if she had caught Myra cheating with a man named David. Myra angrily denied the accusation, feeling that Gwen was meddling in her business. As Gwen was heading to her room, she accidentally ran into Todd in the hallway and began to influence Todd's thoughts that Myra was having an affair. Gwen said she had just overheard Myra talking to a man on the phone. Before going to her room, Gwen said goodnight to Todd with a warm hug. The next morning, while Gwen was still asleep, she suddenly found herself in the kitchen with Todd, as if she were looking for an excuse to spend time alone with him. When the mood between them began to change, Gwen tried to seduce Todd and touch him. However, her plan was thwarted by Myra, who woke up early. Even so, Gwen had prepared breakfast and finished the housework, surprising Myra because her duties as a wife and mother seemed to have been taken over. Amid Myra's confusion and Todd's opinion that Gwen was only helping because she was hurt by her past, Gwen suggested that Myra drink some tea, which she said would make her relax and feel refreshed. Strangely, however, every time she drank the tea, Myra's body became weak, and she seemed to lose control. While descending the stairs in a drowsy and dazed state due to the tea she had drunk, Myra slipped but was immediately helped by Gwen, who seemed very attentive. Gwen helped Myra rest on the sofa, while accepting Myra's intention to have her health checked by a doctor. Myra asked Gwen not to tell Todd. Gwen convinced Myra to trust her with taking a blood sample, so it could be examined at the hospital laboratory. Without suspicion, Myra finally agreed after Gwen assured her that she was a licensed nurse. That night, Myra called David to confide in him about the problems she was experiencing at home. However, in the middle of their conversation, Max and Todd returned home, causing Myra to end the call immediately. When she wanted to take Max to his room, Myra's vision suddenly blurred, so she decided to follow them later. Shortly after, Myra received a message from a man named Weber who said that David was a fraud. After that, Myra fell asleep again on the sofa. The next morning, Todd intended to wake Myra up from her sleep on the sofa, but he was distracted by Myra's cell phone and found the message about David. Max, who witnessed this, became confused, worrying about his mother's recent habit of sleeping a lot. Myra then apologized to Gwen for her misperception. Gwen understood and was even happy that she was starting to be considered part of the family. Not long after, Myra received another message from Weber warning her that David was a dangerous con artist. When Gwen saw the message, she immediately panicked and worried that her plan would be exposed. When she met Karen, Myra told her that her blood test results showed that she was fine. However, Karen suggested that Myra get checked again by a doctor who was not related to Gwen at all. Shortly after that, Weber sent another message to Myra, asking her to meet him at a cafe.
At least meet in public.
When she got home, Myra told Gwen about Weber's invitation. Unintentionally, Todd overheard the conversation. Hearing this, Todd felt disappointed because he suspected Myra was having an affair, as Gwen had previously suggested. The next day, Myra accepted the invitation to meet at the cafe. Weber was waiting there and they got acquainted. It was revealed that Weber was the real David, whose full name was David Weber but was often called Weber. Weber explained that someone had impersonated him with malicious intent. He claimed that he had never sent Myra a message before and stated that he did not have any children. He also told her about his wife, who had died of lung cancer because someone had influenced her to stop seeing her doctor and discontinue chemotherapy, a situation similar to what Myra was currently experiencing. As proof, Weber showed a photo of the fake David. Meanwhile, Todd had been secretly following Myra and saw her hugging Weber at the cafe. On the other hand, Karen stopped by Myra's house and met Gwen, who was alone. Karen took the opportunity to talk directly to Gwen, revealing that she knew about Gwen's behavior, which she considered suspicious. Karen suspected that Gwen was trying to take Todd away from Myra and intended to tell Myra so that her family would remain intact. Gwen, feeling threatened by Karen, immediately took extreme measures. She knocked Karen unconscious by hitting her with a vase. Gwen then took Karen away in Karen's own car so that her tracks would not be recognized. Before leaving the scene, Gwen injected something into Karen's body, which was believed to slowly take her life. Elsewhere, while Myra was cooking dinner for the family, she received a message from Todd saying he would be home late. Gwen took advantage of this situation by taking the knife Myra had used and wiping it with a cloth to leave no evidence. She then told Myra that she was going to meet an old friend. In reality, however, Gwen went to the motel where Weber was staying. It was revealed that Gwen and Weber actually knew each other. Gwen was Weber's wife's nurse, who had influenced her to stop chemotherapy. There, Gwen immediately put on gloves and confessed that she was responsible for Weber's wife's death. Hearing this confession, Weber tried to take revenge for the loss of his wife. But Gwen managed to kill him using the knife she had prepared. After that, Gwen spread Myra's blood, which she had previously taken during a lab test, around Weber's body. That night, Todd came home drunk because he was disappointed and thought Myra was cheating on him. Gwen took advantage of the opportunity by helping Todd to his room while trying to seduce him. Luckily, Todd was a loyal man and asked Gwen to leave his room immediately. The next morning when she met Todd, Gwen lied and said that Todd had tried to seduce her the night before. Todd, who didn't remember what happened because he was drunk, apologized to Gwen for his inappropriate behavior. On the other hand, Myra woke up and tried to contact Karen because she was worried that she hadn't heard from her since yesterday. Unfortunately, there was no answer until Myra received a message from David. In his message, David said that he had stayed up all night to accompany his son who couldn't sleep. The message mentioned the term *little guy*, which Myra also happened to find on Gwen's drink bottle and notes. Becoming increasingly suspicious, Myra emptied the bottle and found powder inside. Curiosity led Myra into Gwen's room while Gwen was out picking up Max from school. There, Myra found a book about medicines followed by several bottles of medicine hidden under Gwen's bed. This discovery made her wonder until she heard a car arriving. Not wanting to be caught, Myra immediately left the room because Gwen had arrived home. Gwen looked surprised to see Myra awake when she should still be asleep. While Myra was looking into the drugs she had found earlier, Gwen came to offer Myra the same drink as before leaving to take Max to his physical therapy session. After Gwen left, Myra went back into the room to record all the evidence she had found for her report. She prepared to go to the police station, while informing Todd by phone that she now had evidence of Gwen's actions against her. However, Gwen suddenly returned home alone early, as if realizing that Myra had discovered her dark secret. Myra asked about Max's whereabouts, and Gwen explained that Max was at an undisclosed location. Worried about Max, Myra finally agreed to Gwen's suggestion to go see Max, leaving all her belongings and cell phone with the recorded evidence at home. During the trip, Gwen expressed her envy of Myra for having a harmonious family. She felt hurt because the patients she had treated all this time never treated her as part of the family. Upon arriving at their destination, Myra immediately looked for Max, but he was not there. He was still at the therapy center. At that moment, Gwen confessed that she wanted to get rid of Myra completely in order to have Todd and Max as her new family. She also revealed that she had killed Dr. Keller, Karen, and Weber because she considered them obstacles to her happiness. This confession shocked Myra, leading to a fierce fight between the lawful wife and the psychopathic woman who had stolen her family. Fortunately, Myra managed to fight back, knocking Gwen unconscious. The story concludes with the return of harmony and happiness for Myra and her family after all conflicts were resolved. That's the plot of this film. I hope you enjoyed it and see you in the next video.